Okay, let's move into lean and agile product management. The cone of uncertainty. If you're not familiar with the cone of uncertainty, it's the concept that if I want to plan something far out in the future, the farther out I am trying to plan for, the more likely I am going to have a larger variability in my estimates from what actually happens. Meaning, I have a higher chance of being wrong the farther out that I plan. Now, that is exacerbated in today's business environment because the rate of change has increased dramatically and continues to increase dramatically. Products don't last as long. They don't stay on the shelf as long. They don't have as long of a lifespan. People need things faster. They need them for shorter period of times, and they want changes and edits to those things sooner than they would have in the past. So estimating out too far anymore at a detailed level, you run the risk of being very wasteful because you're dealing in things and trying to plan things down to a granular level that haven't even represented themselves yet. They're not even reality. So this the code of uncertainty comes into play a lot when it comes to product management in the modern day sense, and it's also why lean and agile are very, very effective in today's environment because they really look at attacking this in a very different way. There's more on this in the agile discussion guide, but for suffice it to say that this is very, very important to modern day product management. In looking at a lean and agile workflow in the intake funnel, that concept then, if you look at the left-hand side here, and again, this is also in our agile discussion guide, the concept is things come in different sizes. It's okay. They can be large, they can be small, they can be whatever. We don't have to have them super detailed to have them come into the product funnel. And we talked about that, actually they talked about that back in the video with the product owner in a nutshell. Ideas come in, they get filtered down, they get manipulated. We talked about this in Scrum when we talk about backlog refinement. We talked about it when we talked about story mapping. And all of these activities are done to try to get things down to smaller sizes to get them ready to go into the team. And as you can see moving along in this funnel, at some point they become ready for the delivery team, in which case the delivery team knows that they can pull it in. Again, it's being reprioritized on a constant basis by that product owner based on value. And value may even be changing in terms of what is and what isn't value based on that cone of uncertainty. Over time, what was valuable 6 months ago may not be valuable now. So all of these things are being done, and then the team's pulling this into this work intake funnel in an agile sense. So lean and agile program and portfolio management, or PMO office, or whatever your organization happens to call the strategic arm of looking at all of the things going on. When you're looking at this, this is at scale, an at scale group where strategy is visioned and tied to tactical capabilities. Now, that's pretty much the same as what it is in most organizations today before they start going into using lean and agile techniques. Uh, you're going to see a few differences here, and we've highlighted one of those differences all through this slide. They globally represent many products and programs, many containing projects. So the focus here is on products. There's a lot of project work that makes it in, high-level macro projects, which eventually get broken down into smaller projects that get broken down into work efforts and features and things like that that the teams take in, and then the product owner manages with all of the stakeholders and the customers to eventually build a product. But we don't develop that out too far because the idea here is that once we meet the need, and if the need changes from the time we start to the time we end, we can stop, and we want to make sure we've got value for those things. The same thing with the release cadence that we saw in Scrum. But they're globally representing many products and programs, many of them containing projects, large level projects. They globally define the vision with a communication cadence. They globally identify risk with a communication cadence. The global ongoing prioritization and reprioritization at the program level, just like the product owner does at the product level, but the program is doing it at a larger level across multiple products and looking at it that way. Again, with a communication cadence. And I want to emphasize the cadence part of this. Global expectations management, program level Gemba walks. And John talked a little bit about Gemba in the lean section. This idea with going around and doing that with a communication cadence. This idea of cadence is so incredibly important to the lean and agile world. We talked about who, when, and how often. This idea around cadence helps to tell you how often. In order to be iterative, you have to have more communication and more frequently. It's not typically on as much data, but that cadence is critical to making this work. They consistently reinform from many sources with a communication cadence. This almost looks like the same list of things that a product owner does, but it's being done at the program level against products across the organization. They operate iteratively with the rest of the organization, or it fails. If this organization continues to operate in a situation where it's, we put out our plan, here it is in December, come January, this is the plan moving forward. Great. If we don't iterate with the rest of the organization and continue to move through these things, then that's going to be a problem. It has to operate within the gears of the organization and not above them. So it needs to be integrated with what's going on. It needs to be a part of the gear and mesh mechanism of the flow of work from the beginning to the end. We talked a little bit about this on the day one and day two in moving through these things. So it's very, very critical that this operates in a much more interactive way than a lot of PMOs. Now, your PMO may work like this. If it does, you're already halfway there. You're much closer to being in a lean and agile program portfolio structure than companies that don't work that way. They kind of set things up and then they run against that set, and then they try to do a bunch of change management against that. This is designed to be iterative, just like the rest of the organization. So program and product level together. If you think about taking strategic and you think about taking tactical and you make them dynamically operable together at the same time, think of these things as two gears. You've got the program side that's looking at vision, initiatives, goals, objectives. They're looking at portfolio alignment. They're looking at probably a portfolio roadmap of some sort. They're doing research. They're doing go-to-market plans. They're thinking about these things from a program level, from products. You've got the product side on the right who's doing vision adherence at the product level. Their design outcomes, user stories, backlog demands, feature prioritization, acceptance criteria for all of the product features that are happening in any one product. And then these things have to align together. Together, they're looking at a constant alignment and realignment, constant discovering of new opportunities as things get done and as new information comes in from the program about other products that are going on within the program. You're looking at making decisions together. Do we pause? Do we pivot? Do we scrap certain features or certain elements of this product based on what's going on in other products and what's going on in the marketplace with our clients? Looking at migrating things from one product to another, look at integrating, look at sunsetting some stuff, maybe features or entire product sets because of other products that are coming in. That could be a project against a product to sunset that product because it's being replaced by something else. So this is how these two need to work together. Again, very high level for our conversation today, but this gives you an idea of these two groups needing to exist and needing to coexist in a very operable way, in a very integrated and iterative way. So program portfolio, PMO, whatever you want to call it, requires a dedicated yet integrated effort to reach proficiency and operational maturity. This can't just happen naturally. You have to be as specific and as dedicated to making this happen as you are about the tactical side of your operations. You hear me talk a lot about the what side of the house and the how side of the house. They have to tie together, and they have to be integrally tied and operably mature to be able to function with each other back and forth. If you're looking at that maturity timeline, if you're taking a product focus and looking at investing in your capabilities moving forward over time, you see on the left-hand side, if you're a new organization, maybe you've gone from having a lot of products and projects, and now you're starting a PMO office and you're starting some kind of a portfolio level management system. That'll be usually a smaller group. The products and projects will be very big, typically in size and scale. And there's there needs to be a lot of overlap in the beginning, just trying to tie all these things together and to be able to get visibility, clarity, and alignment around what's going on. As you move through time, you'll probably see that office grow a little bit, if you're calling it, in this case, the PMO, looking at that growing a little bit in size because it's had to grow to manage the scale a little bit. This isn't always the case, but I'm just graphically representing it here to show you that it may be getting a little bit bigger in terms of its capabilities. As the same time, the way we define products and the way that we build projects will be getting smaller. It doesn't mean that our products get smaller. It means that the way we look at these things and the way we interact and the way we actually work on them, we look at them in smaller bites. Small becomes more visible to us as we do this over time. And it's the same thing on the strategic side of the house as it is on the tactical side of the house. When you move into the third scale, kind of, you're looking at this more matured model, you can see now that there isn't such a large need for such a large kind of collation group in terms of strategy, because the lines of communication are very efficient. The definitions around product and project are very well known and mature. We build things in much smaller, more nimble, more intimate ways. They're more adaptable. They're more scalable. We can turn them on and off more often. It just becomes simpler because we've got better lines of communication, better alignment. We've got our cadence down. Cadence drives a lot of this maturity flow. And we're interacting and operating in a way that represents values and principles of Lean and Agile that we have all been learning about over the last couple of days. So again, it's part of the flow, so it must be part of the movement, or the movement will stall and or never reach its full potential. If you only stop at the what side of the house, or the house side of the house, and you only put together this kind of functional capability to be more iterative on the delivery side of what's going on, call it to the right of the product owner, and you don't work on the left-hand side of that, then you're only going to get so much value out of it. After a while, you'll reach a potential maximum value that you can generate with that without seeing those changes. You'll get some, but the best thing to do is to get both of these things flowing and moving together, because you're going to build a language and a cadence and all these other things together in a way that's going to make it much more effective sooner. You're going to see better results sooner. You're going to see more wins and get more ahas sooner. And it's going to make it, you're going to be able to make it your own much sooner, and get away from just the basic frameworks and concepts and actually bring it into your own environment and impact your culture and your environment so that it really supports what it is you're trying to do.